Hi folks, thanks for joining us for the on-demand version of PPC Power Moves, game-changing secrets for online retailers. We originally aired this webinar on May 7th, 2014. We really hope you enjoy the on-demand version. Before we get too deep into the presentation, I want to just share some feedback that we received from attendees. This is a great webinar. Is a recording so I could let it sink in a bit more. Now we have your recording, and I'm glad you learned a lot. 50% of the active attendees asked for a free audit after the presentation. It's something that is highlighted throughout this presentation, so if you are interested in a free audit, please just write to us at sales@exclusiveconcepts.com and let us know. I'm your presenter. My name is Nik Rajpal. I'm the VP of Client Services here at Exclusive Concepts. You can reach me at nrajpal@exclusiveconcepts.com or on Twitter at Nik_Rajpal. I've been a speaker at many different conferences, Yahoo Summit, Sempo, Hosting Con, webinars with Google, Conversion Conference, and I'm an expert in e-commerce strategy, organic search, paid search, conversion optimization, email marketing. I manage the team here at Exclusive Concepts. I help develop all our methodologies and build our technology. And who are we? Very quickly, we are the leader in do-it-for-you e-commerce marketing services. So we offer marketing services for online retailers, and our brand of marketing is do-it-for-you. So you don't need to babysit us, you don't need to worry about anything. We will achieve better results without having to take any of your time. And by doing a good job for our clients, they have continued to stay on and helped us grow. Thanks to the continued patronage of our clients, we've been on Inc. 5000 every single year since 2008. We were established in 97, and our team is based right outside of Boston. Our typical client earns over $1 million in annual online sales and spends over $10,000 a month in online marketing combined. AdWords, SEO, conversion, whatever it may be. Okay, agenda. So when we did this live, we had a QA session after we were finished with the webinar. It's the only reason that I would suggest coming to the live webinars rather than watching these archives. If you have not had a chance to watch a live webinar, go to exclusiveconcepts.com/blog. Check out our webinar section. We always have new webinars coming up. So today's agenda is the source of our findings, the framework that we're going to introduce to help you understand how to change your PPC outcome, the moves you're going to need to employ to get there, and a quick summary. So let's talk about the source of our findings. Back at the end of 2013, we did a webinar with Google, and we changed the way that we spoke about the webinar, and we definitely sent out more webinar emails than ever before. We ended up having more signups to the webinar than we'd ever seen in the past, and it worked really well. And the team at Google that we did the presentation with was really proud of what we accomplished, and they sent over these awards to us to commemorate that event. And there was so much information. Information was so incredibly helpful that we built a technology and audit to reflect all these new ideas. Now, it's been quite some time, and we've done over 200 audits. So at this point, or nearly 200 audits. Depends when you're watching the video. So now we're ready to share our findings. On top of all that, we actually did a lot of research using current accounts, accounts that we have access to that are not clients. But I do want everyone to know, especially if you've worked with us in the past, there's no sensitive information disclosed at all. Everything's in the vault. But the findings are still going to be incredibly helpful. What makes us credible? Why are you listening to us? We have the best results in the industry, or at least results that matter. By far, the best results. So let's talk about what results matter. A lot of agencies, every agency but ours, focuses on what's called ROAS. Everyone's heard that, right? Return on ad spend. It's the revenue generated from AdWords minus ad spend divided by ad spend. Now, that's pretty dangerous, and we're going to talk about why. The healthy thing to focus on is cash impact. It's revenue multiplied by your margins minus your ad spend, and your management fees. So how much money you actually keep in your pocket from your sales minus all the costs to get you there. Because ultimately that's going to be how much cash you've made in the month. So let's talk about why ROAS is dangerous. Let's look at these numbers. An example, you make $25,000, 26 almost, in revenue off of $10,000 ad spend. An ROAS calculation off of this would be incredibly positive. Any PPC would say, we've done a fantastic job, 157% ROAS, we're in the good. But anyone who understands accounting would then use margins. Typical margin is 30%. For everything we do in this presentation, we're going to use a 30% margin and a 15% management fee. Easy numbers. A 157% ROAS when using margins and management fees is actually negative $4,000 in cash impact, meaning these results resulted in the investor, the person advertising, losing $4,000 in total in that month from this channel. Okay, so we did this poll when we had the live webinar, asking people to try to compute. Well, then what is break even at 30% if your management fees are 15%? And the second most popular answer was number 4. And that is the answer. And you can see this, that if you make $38,300 in revenue off of $10,000 ad spend at 283% ROAS, that is just good enough to make $0 in profit and $0 in loss. Okay, so we actually went ahead and we analyzed 2 separate groups. Group A, or Group 1, sorry, and Group 2. Group 1, for every $1,000 of ad spend, Group 1 is making $4,000 in revenue. Group 2 is making a $62.66. When you apply a 30% margin, it's $1,200 versus nearly $1,900. Now the costs are the same. $1,000 ad spend plus 15% management fee. But the profit is so vastly different. Group 1 makes $52 in profit off a $1,000 investment. Group 2 makes $730 profit off their $1,000 investment. That's after getting back that $1,000, of course. And that's how you come to that profit number. But let's say you took this profit and you stacked it up like gold coins. Group 1 would make this many gold coins off their $1,000 investment, while Group 2 would make that many gold coins. Now, what are these groups? These are non-clients versus clients. We analyzed over 70 non-client accounts versus over 200 client accounts to do this research. Our clients are making 14 times more profit than non-clients, 1,300% more profit. You can't get close to that with any other agency. And the way we accomplish this is what we call the flux approach. The flux approach is the solution to the number one problem in PPC today, or rather the number one thing that people are doing wrong in PPC today. They're plateauing. They're allowing themselves to plateau. A plateau is pretty much a period of activity or progress, and then all of a sudden you end up in an area where there's little or no change. And it comes from one-trick ponies. It comes from doing the same thing over and over again and no longer having any moves left. And there's 2 different buckets of how people approach PPC. One is cutting. This is for efficiency gains. So you build all these campaigns, you measure from the campaigns which ones are doing poorly, and you cut them out. And all of a sudden you have a efficiency boost. And to get your next efficiency boost, you see, well, what's left that is not performing as well as some of the other areas, and you cut those out. And you just have your best performing areas left. And when you see on a graph what this looks like, cost goes down, then it plateaus. Efficiency goes up, then it plateaus. So revenue goes up, then it plateaus. Now the other option is people who say, we can help you grow, get more visits, blah, blah, blah. It's all about growth, unchecked growth, where you keep adding new campaigns or new sections, new tactics, but you never go back to check whether or not those tactics are actually effective. And we see this all the time. And in that case, yes, that can help you grow. Your cost keeps growing. Your efficiencies over time go down because you're absorbing this inefficiency into your overall strategy. So your revenue, it increases, but not nearly at the same rate as your cost. And the solution is the flux approach. It is building and then evaluating what you've just built while you're building more. And then build more and evaluate what you built. And cut out areas of inefficiency, double down on areas of efficiency, and keep building. And what the flux approach looks like when you actually see the graph, it is cost and efficiency. Cost and efficiency going in this flux. First you build the cost, then the efficiency, then the cost, then the efficiency. And when you do that, your revenue keeps growing. And it grows well above your costs. Now this is from the actual data of one of our clients that we've managed for about a decade now on the PPC side. This is just one of the more recent fluxes. It's several months worth of flux where you see we increased cost to try out new things, and as a result, some of that cost was attributed to new revenue growth. Now, it wasn't all of the cost going towards revenue growth. Some of those areas were still not performing well. So after building enough data and evaluating, we were able to cut out the areas of cost that were not going well. And after just a brief dip, you can see that we brought cost back down to its original amount, while revenue continued to maintain itself at a peak. So you create a much larger gap between cost and revenue in the end versus this short gap here. That's a flux. And by doing this over and over again for the last 10 years for this client, just in 2013 alone, we reduced cost by 1%, increased revenue by 105%. So to be able to flux, you have to do two things very well. You have to be able to build and you have to be able to trim. You have to have a great tool set for both building and trimming, and you have to go back and forth and flux. So let's talk about building ideas first. We're going to start with some 101s, some basic stuff, PPC, infrastructure, building techniques, top precision techniques, triangular remarketing, PLA infrastructural excellence. So start off with some 101s, and then we're going to go into these last three are going to be pretty new stuff. You probably have never heard of half of these. So PPC infrastructure is quite simple. In online retail, your site structure is home to category to subcategory, subcategory to products. So when you're creating your campaigns and your structure in your PPC account, you want to make sure you mimic that to a certain degree. Campaigns are encompassing your home for your brand and categories. And then within those categories, you have some of your campaigns. You have ad groups for your subcategories, and even some of the more popular products can have their own ad groups. By building out this way, you get to easily see aggregate data at the category level because it's a campaign. You can write ad copy for specific subcategories and products only because they're the ad groups. And then your negatives, dimensions, settings, they can all be optimized at different levels. So we definitely recommend trying this out. You'll find that you'll have so much more information to be able to work off of, and it will lead you towards the right type of trimming activities in the future. Now, building technique. A lot of this is done naturally, but we have some advice here for you. Over the years of managing PPC, we've seen that some best practices should be followed, and some of these ideas should be new best practices. So when you're creating ads, make sure you create at least 2 ads per ad group. Make sure you rotate indefinitely. Don't do the optimization of ads because Google just doesn't wait long enough. When we did our research, and we're going to share that research in a little bit, only 25% of online retailers do very well in mobile, or actually profitable in mobile. So only 25% of you should be doing mobile. And if you are doing mobile, you should have at least 2 mobile ads, and you should check the mobile preferred for those ads. In terms of language, don't just target English, target Spanish or all languages, even though your ad is in English, because there's a huge bilingual, multilingual community in the US that changes their browser settings to something non-English, even though they speak English. So now you can show up for them versus suppressing your ads from that demographic. In terms of delivery method, this is, you set a budget and you're giving Google 2 different options in terms of how often they should show your ads based on how much activity there is, how many impressions there are. If you do accelerated, that is going to allow your ad to show up as often as demand allows. If you use standard, it will stretch out your budget over a period of time. So it's almost like you're going to be really holding back in terms of your visibility. So we definitely recommend accelerated for most accounts. Standard if the budget is really tight, but don't expect as good of performance. Okay, now let's talk about something that's a little less intuitive. Top position technique. See, you want to target the top position, and with very good reason. Let's talk about what's going on there. Google has switched hands at this point. CEO Eric Schmidt stepped down on April 4th, 2011, and handed back the CEO title to Larry Page, one of the 2 founders of Google. And part of what caused this handoff is that Eric Schmidt was able to grow the ad section of Google significantly for years, but was unable to do much more than plateau come 2009. So since 2010, 2011, 2012, through the efforts of Larry Page, we've seen much more consistent growth for their ad side of Google. And one of the main things that Larry Page did to create that scenario was change the user experience in Google itself when you're searching through Google. And the usability changes have made a huge difference. So to introduce how this works, for those of you who have not done extensive usability or not been trained extensively on usability, let's do a quick usability 101. So to do smart usability changes, first you have to make sure that every element on the page has a clear separation. Okay, visually you can see a space in between each element. Now, you then have to choose what you want people to see first, second, and third on the page. What parts of the page are going to get the most emphasis? You create that type of emphasis, or prominence as we call it, through the size of the element, the font, the background color, or images. You can see how these different elements now stand out. So let's take that information, that new knowledge, and apply it to changes in the SERPs, the search engine ranking pages, or search engine results pages. For February 2010 to June 2010, you can see a few changes already. Keep an eye on this first position here. See what's happening there. First, they added a thin new left column. Part of this was to bring the results right below the search, but also to give more functionality a chance. This background color that was creating prominence for the results bar was removed. A wider column buffer to create more separation of elements was introduced. And by 2011, September 2011, you saw a lot of changes happen. Now that background color that used to be part of the results side is now behind the search side. So it becomes the first thing you use. You focus on the actual functionality of this page starts with search. There's a stronger visual emphasis on the ads, especially ad number 1, with extended headlines. The buffer in between the two right side columns is no longer this clunky and too close. It is a much cleaner buffer. Seller ratings are introduced, one of the first extensions. And to make sure that there's no cluster over here that grabs too much attention, the left side is separated out, much cleaner. So August 2012, we saw some huge changes, especially in visual prominence. First of all, ad extensions were introduced everywhere, and the first ad, top position, starts getting a lot more momentum. The left column was moved to the top. A dual menu, mimicking what was up there, is set up here so that Google could do some testing and see which one people prefer. And obviously the most prominent change was PLA results showing up in the SERPs themselves. Product listing ads, PLA. By 2013, the major changes that happened made it much more effective for the top position to make money. Their left padding was reintroduced because it did help to have the top result come right under the search bar. And that was removed here when they got rid of the left nav. So this new padding aligned the first result with the search itself. The top menu was dropped because it was far too prominent with its contrast. And now you see this huge difference from 2010 till 2013 with such an emphasis on making the top position as profitable as possible. And here are the numbers. This is what the result of all these changes is that the top position now makes a lot more money than any other position. And let's recap. It has the highest prominence. It's right under the search bar. Has the highest click-through rate. It has what we call top spot prerogative. It has more than double the real estate, including site links that have an indent and 2 rows. And people trust Google, so when you are at the top, that trust is naturally lent to your site, and you have a much higher conversion rate. Right? And we did a comparison by device, and you can see doesn't matter what device people are using, the top position is still by far the most profitable position. At any point, you can pause and take a closer look at these graphs. We did a comparison again, non-clients versus our clients, so 70 plus non-clients, 200 plus clients, to see profitability by position. So profit per dollar spent on positions 1, 2, 3, and 4. Even non-clients make profit in position 1. It is by far the most profitable. But across the board, there's a lot of loss in positions 2, 3, and 4. Now we've been able to spend a lot more towards position 1 and make position 1 more effective for our clients. We're also able to make positions 2 and 3 less of a loss across the board. If this is the first time I'm going to introduce the audit here, please keep in mind this is exclusiveconcepts.com. The M is down there, sorry. That if you ask us to do an audit for your store, we will actually break out all of your ad spend across positions and see which positions of yours are you actually targeting and how much profit are you making for those positions. It's very informative. You might find right away that there's a great way for you to change your profitability just by looking at this chart. So how do you take the top spot? It's so lucrative. How do you get there? Is there a science even for it? Well, yeah, there is. It's actually quite simple and not enough people utilize it. You have an ad rank for your ad, which is your bid multiplied by your quality score. And if you have the highest ad rank as a result of your bid and quality score, then you take the top position. Now your bid is made up of the main bid that you set for your ad, and then you might have multipliers. So, for example, you may have a multiplier for noon. Let's just do time of day, noon to 1 o'clock. And you might even have day of week, Monday. And for both of those cases, you may have set your multiplier to be higher by 50%. Then, during that time period, your bid is actually going to go up because you use multipliers that were set within your dimensions. Now, quality score comes down to previous click-through rate, on-page relevance, click-through rate of other ads, page load time, and site links. Now, previous click-through rate is important to note because anytime you create a new ad, the reason that you typically have to pay more when you create an ad versus, your quality score can go up later is because until Google has enough data on your ad, it just has to work off the click-through rate of other ads. And as you build up click-through rate history, then you get to use that for your own quality score. On-page relevance, if you do SEO, long-tail SEO for your product pages and your category pages, you can see your quality score dramatically go up, which reduces the need for high bids to get the top position. Your page load time has some impact on your quality score, but very relevant site links make a huge difference. Huge difference. And if we do the audit for you by writing to us at sales@exclusiveconcepts.com, requesting the Google audit, we'll check how your site links are set up. Now, building also requires utilizing the breadth of Google's platform. And remarketing, especially for online retail, is critical to grow your account and make sure you're capturing as many sales from people who came to your site, those who bought the first time and those who didn't buy on the first visit. So remarketing is introduced in 3 different ways today. First is the most basic remarketing. People visit your website, they're added to a marketing list, so you set parameters like people saw a visitor came to this category, added a product to the cart but did not buy it. Those are all different parameters, and that could be one audience. You can set a multitude, an infinite number of audiences based on different parameters, and you can study them to see which audiences actually are the best predictors of a person's readiness to buy from you in the future. Then you can set one of your audiences to show an ad to someone who's in that audience. So they've been to your site, they fit the parameters, so they're part of that audience. Now they go on weather.com. That's part of Google's display network. And they're going to see your ad. So they may have thought that you were a small business, too small for them, too unknown. All of a sudden, they've been to your site, they liked what they saw, and now they see your ad everywhere. Now they're convinced you're actually trustworthy. So they may buy from you. The problem is, Google introduced that years ago, and it just didn't make that much of an impact. So they created 2 new forms of remarketing that had a much better shot of making you money. The first is dynamic remarketing. So now, if you know someone looked at a product on your site and you want to target them in the display network, based on the product they looked at and based on the information in your Google Merchant Center account, that's the foundation of your Google Shopping account, they will actually show products, product price, product images, targeting that person based on what they were looking at on your site. So now instead of trying to convince them that your brand, your store is the most amazing store to shop at, you just keep them focused on the product they were looking at. They have interest in this product. Let them close themselves. Now the third part, or rather the third form of remarketing, is called RLSA, remarketing lists for search ads. So just like we were creating remarketing lists for dynamic ads and for traditional remarketing, here these remarketing lists are being used in Google's search. So if someone types in something into Google and they happen to be part of an audience from being a past visitor to your site, you can now target them at the moment that they type in something that's relevant to you. So you can actually target bigger keywords than you usually do to past customers, more generic keywords, and you're actually going to get a lower cost for it because of your quality score. You can get very creative with ad copy messages. Hey, we still have your product saved in our cart. Come back now and we'll give you 5% off. And you know what their behavior was, so you can speak to that. You also know what they're looking for right now, so you can get creative with that. But what we ask you to think about the most is audience quality. By setting up many different audiences in Google based on very different parameters, you're trying to find the difference between past visitors that are 1% ready to buy from you and past visitors that are 80% ready to buy from you. And by changing and tweaking your parameters, you can get closer to understanding that over time. Now, we say that everyone should use these different remarketing platforms in a coordinated way. That when someone buys from you, you just do the basic branded remarketing. Further your word of mouth. Get repeat purchases. They've already closed their sale. They already know your brand a little bit because they just bought from you. Make that brand awareness as big as possible. And until they finish their sale, just keep them focused on the product that they were interested in through dynamic remarketing. And then when they finish that sale, put them into branded remarketing. And no matter what, the entire time, try to use RLSA to bring down your costs and get more targeted to close as many visitors as possible. Now, if you write to sales@exclusiveconcepts.com, like 50% of the people who were engaged in the live webinar did, then we will go ahead and make sure your remarketing looks good, and we'll have a conversation around it as well. Your marketing, dynamic remarketing, RLSA. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Google Shopping, because that is part of how you build these days. The basics of Google Shopping, or PLA, product listing ads, are all the same. Is you have your e-commerce platform that showcases your products, and you have a feed that takes all the product-centric information from your platform and is organized in a way that Google's Merchant Center can understand the data on your products. That is something that you need to do with the feed provider, getting that set up properly. Then, when Merchant Center is happy with your feed, you use AdWords to use that data and start targeting people, start getting your products to show up. So why is PLA so important? Product listing ads. Well, we analyzed over 200 accounts, and we saw where the breakdown of spend and profit is right now. 64% of spend goes towards text ads. Exactly 1/2 of that goes towards PLA. Then display ads are 2.4%, and dynamic search ads are exactly 1/2 of that. Oddly enough. Now, text ads make on average 34 cents profit per dollar spent. But the same clients are making 84 cents profit per dollar through PLA. Now, while text ads have just a lion's share of spend, and they are profitable, and it's a necessity to invest in them, it is actually important to note that even though there's half the traffic or half the spend, product listing ads make 25% more overall profit. The overall number, not these comparisons. That is more than double. But overall, even with half the spend, is 25% more profit. So if you're going to choose one of the two for starters, you choose product listing ads. It's going to create a liquid scenario much faster, a profitable scenario much faster. But to really be going out there and taking advantage of your full opportunity, you have to be using text ads as well. So to get the PLA, our clients have phenomenal results. I just showed you the results. But you don't always get those results. The biggest issue today in PLA, or biggest mistake, is people creating too few ads for their entire inventory. And it makes a lot of sense. You have thousands of products potentially, right? And the information points vary when it comes to these different products. You have price, product type, brand. Those are all different. And your products even perform differently. But popularity is different, conversion rate, margins, they're all different. And you actually have a lot of that information already in your feed. And you can even access it because it's in your feed. You can create campaigns using that information, all the way down to the ID level. So why wouldn't you do that? Now we suggest taking a simple path. We call it the super campaign. Simple but effective. You take your entire breadth of inventory that breaks down like this. For example, this is a site that sells men's and women's shirts and pants. To create a super campaign, you go small enough that you can be relevant with your changes, large enough so that you can get good aggregate information. So men's shirts, for example. Now men's shirts becomes your campaign, and by breaking out men's shirts and then by margin and then by bestsellers versus normal, every end of this lineage is its own product group or ad group. Men's shirts, margins 20 to 40% bestsellers, right? So that's one product group. And you set your bids at that level. This is what it actually looks like in AdWords. You set your bids down to what has been expanded on, and you've excluded everything else. Okay? The reason you do it this way is because it allows you to do more. You can bid according to profitability, especially if you know your margins. You can track performance to a segment, like this segment. You would know exactly what the performance is. Or you can expand it and track performance to an ID. You can break any subgroup into its ID levels for bidding. You can add sensible negative keywords. So this is men's shirts. Well, if you don't sell men's t-shirts or men's cowboy shirts, those are sensible negatives. You can exclude unprofitable subgroups. So any one of these groups, let's say the lower margin, non-bestsellers, you can exclude that entire section. Or if you know that some of the products in there are not doing well, just exclude the unprofitable IDs within that subgroup. You can create a compelling ad. You can actually create some promo text for a particular campaign like this. So it can be around men's shirts instead of just a global one that is about every one of your products. You can change your location and language settings just for this campaign. And you can use your dimensions tab to set different parameters around day of week or time of day to use multipliers. Essentially increase or decrease bids based on what you know about the shopping habits of your customer. Now, it is a lot of work, but what matters is results. In the end, people that are not doing our approach make on average $48 profit for every $1,000 that they spend. If the weather changes one day, they will lose money. It is so quick. They're so close to break even. Our clients, on the other hand, after all cost of goods sold, advertising costs, management fees, are making $1,157 in profit. 23 times more profit, 2,200% more profit. Now, that's probably enough information for you to want to work with us, but what we're asking instead is for you to let us do an audit of your account. sales@exclusiveconcepts.com. Let us audit what you have going on right now. We're even going to audit your Google Shopping. So that's all built. We still have to trim. So what are we going to learn for trimming? Ad copy power analysis. This is a unique technology that no one else has. It's really interesting stuff. Same with device profitability optimization, something that we proprietarily do for our clients. And 3-bucket cost efficiency optimization. These are all proprietary trimming techniques. Now, the ad copy power analysis is a lot of fun. When we're doing the audits, people often ask us to just stop there and play around with this as much as possible. Why? Because we just drop in a keyword like shipping, and then we can see all the ads that mention shipping versus the ads that don't mention shipping, and look at the behavioral difference between them. For this prospect, they had been spending 50% on ads that mentioned shipping versus 50% that did not. But they only made profit on the part that mentioned shipping. Click-through rate was much higher, conversion rate was higher, and the costs were significantly lower. Keep in mind, what you put in your ad can influence your cost per click. So, when you're thinking about creating your ads, you are probably following best practices. You read somewhere that the best things to mention are shipping, fast shipping, free shipping, sale, discount, quality, guarantee, same day, lowest price, or selection. So you've imbibed these best practices into your ads. Well, we went ahead and created a poll. We had analyzed over 200 accounts, and on the webinar, we asked everyone of these 5 phrases. Only one of them was more likely to increase cash impact. All the other ones are actually more likely to decrease your profitability. Which one was the real winner here? The result is same day. Now in the poll, 31% of people thought it was fast shipping, 28% thought it was guarantee, 23% lowest price, 10% discount, and the lowest number of people guessed it was same day. But same day is actually the only one out of all these 5 that actually has the highest likelihood of increasing your profitability. Now, if you look at the more popular ones, these were the keywords that showed up most popularly in ads. Shipping, free shipping, sales, selection, quality. Across the board, each of them has a greater likelihood of not being a good thing for you versus being a good thing. Very counterintuitive. And you might be in that group. It seems like most people are likely part of the group where they should not be mentioning these things. But what's important to note is you might be in this group. So if you just follow best practices, you might be in this group and you choose not to mention selection, and you'll actually have worse performance. Let us do the ad copy analysis with you to determine whether or not you're part of these groups. So once again, sales@exclusiveconcepts.com. Request Google Audit for your online store. We'll get back to you guys really shortly and set up a meeting. It's like a 2-hour presentation. It's phenomenal. Now, device profitability optimization is also something you can't do in any technology except for ours. It's about identifying which devices are making money. So if someone interacts with the mobile ad, does that make you money or lose money? In this case, you can see, significant spend towards mobile, 41,000 towards computers, 7,000 towards tablets, 20,000 towards mobile devices, where this prospect was losing way too much money. Now we did our full analysis of 200 plus accounts, and actually 75% of accounts lose money with mobile. So if you just want to play the odds here, we would say use a mobile multiplier to suppress your spend towards mobile, because it's likely that it's 3 times more likely that you're part of that group than not part of that group. But when we do the analysis for you, we'll be able to see that for sure. Now, in some cases, computers versus tablets had totally different performance. So what we did was we looked at a set of online retailers where computer, PC, was making a lot of money, but not as much money on tablet, not even close. And they included businesses that target businesses, mostly. Office equipment, manufacturing, office decor, mechanic targeted, restaurant supplies. And the only one that was kind of consumer oriented was musician targeted, mostly because musicians are always on their high-tech computers to do their production. But if you're targeting people based on something they're going to use on their person or within their home, clothing, personal audio, home decor, sports activities, jewelry, pet supplies, hobbies, tablet destroys in terms of performance. In all these categories, computers did not perform very well at all, but tablets performed amazing. So good things to note. We are working with Google to try to push them to allow us to separate spend towards tablets versus spend towards computers so that businesses that fall into these categories can optimize towards best results. Okay, the third part of trimming is called the 3-bucket cost efficiency optimization. It's understanding your account's economy. So let's build out this analogy a little bit. Look at the economy. This is the U.S. economy. In 2013, the U.S. economy had fantastic growth, 2.8%. Right? But 2.8% is positive, so how do you account for all the loss? This is a graph of different activities that when added together actually adds up to 2.8%. And you see within there's activities that have huge loss, some have huge gain, most of them are just break even. So we say these are actually 3 different buckets of activities. Pure loss in the economy, those that are unemployed, companies that are failing, those are all pure loss. And the vast majority of activity on U.S. soil is sluggish. People just trying to keep up with last year's performance, or people just trying to keep their jobs, no expectation of a raise. This is all 0% growth. So how, with all that pure loss and all that 0% growth, can we still grow 2.8%? It's because a small set of businesses get it right. They pull together $1 million, they make $50 billion out of it. And that is the few and far apart hotbeds of efficiency that carry all the sluggish and all the pure loss into a growth number of 2.8%. Now, if you took a magnifying lens to your account, you'd see the same thing happening. You have ads that have accrued a lot of traffic and a lot of data, but they're not making you money. They're pure loss. They're weighing down your performance. You will have a lot of ads that are having very little activity, and you just don't have enough information to even determine whether or not it's good or bad. Usually, they average around break even, ironically. But you'll also have these hotbeds of high efficiency. Ads that have accrued 200 clicks, making at least $1 profit for every dollar spent. If you don't find those areas, then you can't double down on those areas. If you can't find your pure loss, you can't cut that out. Now, when you write the sales exclusive concept and you ask for your Google audit, we're actually going to run this analysis on every single ad in your account and determine which ads are pure loss, high efficiency, or sluggish. And we're going to map the information to each of those ads so that if you ever chose to come on board with us as a client, we could immediately go ahead and turn off the pure loss, evaluate it, double down on the areas of high efficiency. Now, this is an analysis not of our clients, but of clients that we're just talking to right now. We're just doing audits for them. They haven't decided whether or not they're going to come on yet. And here's where we saw in terms of averages. On average, there's $8,000 of spend per prospect, per account, that is going towards an area of pure loss. $8,000 making only $20,000 in revenue, therefore at a 30% margin, is losing $3,000. In that month, $8,000 came out of the pocket just to lose $3,000. Now, also on average, there's about $1,000 going towards high efficiency, generating $14,000 in revenue, so after a 30% margin, is $2,800 in profit. And then the vast majority is going towards sluggish, $12,600, making $50,000 in revenue, which is not break even but a little bit higher. Now, when you add these three buckets together, what happens? You spend $21,000 to make $84,000 in revenue, but because pure loss was such a big negative, even though these were successful, in the end, these accounts make on average $300 in profit. If they simply got rid of the pure loss, they would have spent a lot less money, almost 50% less, to make 10 times the profit. It's an amazing thing. Now, as a summary, for starters, we want you to know if you do actually want to skip the audit, you want an agreement from us, you want to be part of the success that we're creating for our clients and online retailers and get out of this loss, this huge loss that other people are experiencing. Profitable PPC is for the traditional text ads and display network. It's $1,500 setup, $8.95 a month, or 15% of PPC ad spend, whichever is greater. For Google Shopping, it's only $4.95 setup, $5.95 a month management fee plus 12% of what you spend in PLA. Both of them are pretty much the lowest cost in the marketplace, with 14 times the profitability across the board, 23 times the profitability for Google Shopping alone. So let's do our recap. If you're currently managing your account using ROAS, it's not a smart thing to do. You want to switch to cash impact if you can. By doing so and applying our flux approach, our clients make 14 times the profit. The flux approach itself is build, then evaluate what you built while you're building more. So always be growing and always be creating efficiency at the same time. And to do that, you need to understand the most advanced ways to build and the most advanced ways to trim. On the build side, what everyone can do is proper PPC infrastructure and building techniques. What not enough people are doing are top position techniques, triangular marketing, or optimizing for PLA infrastructural excellence. On the trimming side, what no one else can do except for our clients is ad copy power analysis, device profitability optimization, and 3-bucket cost efficiency optimization. If you choose to do audit, I will actually be the one that is doing the audit for you. So just write to sales at Exclusive Concepts, ask for the audit, and we'll set up a time to do that. So if you were part of the live presentation, we do QA right now. I hope you enjoyed the on-demand version. We have so many other webinars on demand. exclusiveconcepts.com/blog. Go to our webinar section. Check out our on-demand videos. I think you'll really enjoy them. And hopefully you write to us asking for an audit. Can't wait to look into your account and see what's going on. Thanks, folks. This has been Nik Rajpal, VP of Client Services at Exclusive Concepts. Really appreciate your time.